Hey, I can't hear you for some reason.
I was muted.
Oh, okay.
Here you
That'll
go.
do it.
That'll do it. How's your day going?
All right, I have a cold, so I'm not feeling 100%, but
Oh no. Well, thank you so much for doing this. This is like our first experiment, and so hopefully it's fun. And the ideas that are just kind of like chilled, just kind of talking about fun stuff.
okay,
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
cool.
I just put a channel link in the chat, so we'll just wait a couple minutes.
Sure.
Hey, how's it going this afternoon?
Hi.
Wow, cool background.
You got that yet.
Oh, you've seen nothing yet. So we've got this where I can just float in a void, We've got, oh, here we go. This one is my favorite one. This is just as soon as it loads up here.
Treasure
I'll tell
chest.
you what it is.
Oh, I was like, I can't see it yet.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it is a,
slow because all of us are on our internet connection. So this is a live view from the International Space Station of Earth. And it's going along something. Of course, it's pretty so because I'm blurring. There, that's
Ooh,
yeah.
Wow.
That's so cool.
cool.
So,
Oh, hey, Ryan.
I could just take myself out of there and watch the world turn.
Wonderful. Cool. It's 3 now. I just pinged the channel and our team channel too, so maybe I'll just wait another minute and we can get started. How's it going, Ryan?
I'm just popping in to say hello and see what goes on. I gotta go jump off onto another call, but y'all look like cool people. I want to come say hi.
We're fabulous people.
Watch out.
AJ, what's your background right there? Is it just a blur or?
Yeah, so my background is actually a picture of my background because my actual background is this. So my old background used to be this, and I use that at work now with a little blur to fool my boss into thinking that I haven't actually moved my stuff around in my workspace.
Sweet.
That's awesome. I've been seeing all like the classes and stuff.
It's even worth it.
Like the college students getting all creative with their backgrounds and stuff. I'm like, whoa, what have I been doing? Cool. All right. Well, it's about 2 minutes. So thanks everyone for joining. This is definitely, are you leaving?
I'm gonna bounce, Brooke. Good to see you. Nice to meet y'all.
Yeah, so this is definitely an experiment. Thank you so much, Karina, for wanting to do this. So we do things like this with our Techstars class. It's basically like 30 minutes. You can talk about anything awesome. And so I'll just hand it over to you, Karina, and you can share your screen if you want to, or you don't have to. And then also as people are going, I think putting questions in the chat is helpful or jumping in. But yeah, super casual and just meant to be fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, familiar or unfamiliar everybody is with Trello. So just suggested I just do like high level first. Trello is very, very flexible. It's a project task management tool, and it's super flexible. So first of all, you can create boards. As you see, I have too many. I spend my life. Within boards, there are lists, and in each list, there is a card. So it's as simple as, whatever, like you literally just type it, and you can, because this is the focus is to how to stay, like in the loop from a remote perspective. I'm just going to focus on that first. So, you know, like you can add members. So you can add, like, obviously this is just me, but if you had members of your team, you can add them to a card and then they will get notified of any updates in the card. You can add attachments. So you can literally just like add a file here. You can write comments and mention somebody and they will get notified. And then you can move it from like status to status. So a very easy workflow. Sorry, I have a cold, so I'm sorry that I'm a little bit hoarse. A very easy workflow is to do doing done, and you can literally move things from card to card. You could also, like, if you have like, you know, a team, you could also have something like this where each team member has a list, and Trello has these really cool things called power-ups, and I'll show you more about that in a minute. But one of the power-ups that it has is custom fields. So you can create like a status with a drop-down, and then you can just, you know, track the status that way. And, you know, so like that, you know, if somebody is done, they can update it here. And if you're a member on the card, you will get notified. You can also automate it. There's something called Butler, which I'll go into, where you can like literally automate, like if something is set to complete, to be notified only then. I'm going to stop here a second because, like, again, I don't know how much you guys know Trello or don't know Trello. So any questions so far?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in because I've had a little experience. So what's an example of a Trello, like what do you use Trello boards for? Are there things that Trello boards are good for and maybe things that there aren't? So like if I was going to try to track a project, like what's an ideal project for to use on Trello?
So Trello can actually be used for almost anything. They have this like inspiration board where like you can literally like, you know, if you're in HR operations, you can create a board, and apparently Envision uses this for onboarding. You can create, like, if you're in IT, you know, project management is really easy to do in here. So one of the, you know, like for one of my clients, they're, you know, like it's editorials. So I created ideas, you know, this is just his workflow. And another cool thing, like like a lot of these things are like custom fields I added for him. And you can also integrate Trello with Slack. So in his Slack channel, there is one, you know, I can show you. So any assignments, you know, they get notified here. So he's notified anytime there's movement. So that's one way of using it. Another way of using it, like you know, I do my own things in here where like, this is like longer term, this month, this week, today's 3. And I automated that. For instance, there's labels are very useful. And like I have a different label for each client, and I have one to sync for my assistant. So when here I can show you what that looks like. So if I add the label, oh, hold on, that's not what I wanted to do. If I add the sync to EA label, it's automatically moves it to assigned. And then on her board, it goes into the inbox. And she's also notified, like I have a Zapier integration where it's also like notified in Slack. So it's like the great thing about Trello is it's so flexible. You literally can use it for anything because it's just a matter of like, you can have as many lists as you want. You can call them whatever you want and just easily move things, you know, from one to the other. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, it does. Thank you. I didn't know you could add custom fields because I always had trouble like assigning like development tasks, for example. When they got super granular, I had trouble with that. So yeah, that's helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, like depending on the kind of account you have, because you know, like if it's a personal, if you have like a personal board which isn't associated with a business account, you can only have 3 boards, and there are limits to how many power-ups you can use. I forget what it is. I actually pay for a business account because I use this so much. So I have like unlimited power-ups. But if we take a look at some of the power-ups, like you can go down here, they really like, and they keep adding, like people develop for it. So like automation, you know, here's like developer tools. You can integrate it with the Jira or, you know, like any of those things. GitHub, like whatever you use, Jira's in here. But for communication, like I said, like you can integrate it with Slack. They now also have this new thing where they whereby, which you can literally just have a video conference in here. Oh, I guess it's not, I have to like log in, but you can do like a whereby is like a Zoom competitor, and you can do a video conference down here, which is a little odd, but you know, it's, they kind of add everything. So Butler, and if I'm going too fast or you have questions, please just stop me. So the way Butler works for automation is there are rules, card buttons, board buttons, calendars, and due dates. So a rule is literally like, here's an example. When a card is archived, set due now, mark the due date is complete, find the first card linked in the attachment and archive the cards, because I do like a lot of things. A card button would be something specific to on a card. I guess I don't have any here. I can find one later. Calendar is really useful. Like every Monday at 10 a.m., archive all the cards and list done. So it's just like little things like that, that, you know, like save a couple of minutes here and there. And like, I'm big on like, I hate repeating things. So anything like small like that, if I can automate, like I love to do it.
So
yeah.
What's an example of what you would use that for? So yeah,
So,
why would you archive all things at once? Or yeah, can you just give an example on what?
Yeah. So I put, you know, I put things in done as I do them, and then I want it cleaned up in the beginning of the week, so it starts fresh, you know. So it's just because it's, like I don't need everything here from like week to week, you know what I mean? So like that, it just automates it, that it literally like empties it out every Monday morning, so I start fresh for that week.
Okay, so like if you move it to done, if you wanted to get rid of them, you'd have to go manually archive them to get rid of them.
Yeah, you can do that at any time here. You can archive all cards in this list.
Mm-hmm.
But like this, it's one less thing that I have to do because it just does it for me.
Makes sense.
Here I have like two, like obviously like there's a lot of power-ups. Like bulk actions is cool because it lets you do it lets you select more than one thing. It doesn't like to close it though, for some reason. Okay, so custom fields is one of the power-ups. Labels, which let me go back to the demo board. If you're doing done, you can have like the labels set so that, you know, each label could be a different employee. So it's like, it's really flexible, you know, like, so here, like the employees are different labels, and here, like the employees, a different list. And then you have like the status as a custom field. So it really depends on like how you like to see things. There's also a way, like for instance, if you, I don't have one set up now to show, but if you can have like a master board where like everybody has their own individual board, and then only when things like, let's say you only want to see certain things on your master board, so you can automate that, you know, let's say it's a certain status or certain category or certain label, like that would be a good way. Like let's say you only wanted to see things like, you know, if you had a custom field with revenue, you know, you only wanted to see revenue of a certain thing, so you can like automate that, and that would go to like your like master board. There's also other tools that I use that help with mirroring, like Unito. That's not really Trello, but it exists there where like you can sync things. You can sync across if you need more of that kind of stuff. So okay, so the point of this is that it's very flexible, you know, like you can do everything you need in here and notify people, attach things so that wherever you are, you know, you can check in and see where the work is. You can have a conversation in here. You can even attach documents. You could sync this with Box, with Drive, with, you know, Dropbox, all of those things, or just attach it from directly. You can add checklists, which are very useful, and mark things off. There's you know, there's everything and anything you can do in here. It's just a matter of being like creative. Recently, they also added something really cool where like you can have a card and make it a template. And then what that looks like, I can show you. I do improv on the side. So I created this like template improv show prep. And if I wanted to create a card from the template, literally like I just like rename it and I move it to the list I want, and it creates it new, and it keeps everything that was in the original so that I don't have to do it from scratch. You can also actually create a template board now, where like a whole board becomes a template. And then like, let's say like this was, you know, something for like a client, you know, like one of my clients at one point I had like all of this. So I didn't have to like start from scratch. You literally can just create it from here, rename it, and, you know, decide what it keeps and create, and it'll do that for you. Questions?
Yeah, Karina, I'm wondering what the most valuable automations you found are, like both automations and also power-ups. Like, which are your favorite?
Okay, Butler is my all-time favorite power-up because that's the one that lets you like automate so much. Some of my other favorites are, let's see. Scaled is a pretty good one. It lets you do epics and keep track of like different stats. So like if you have, you know, like I don't have anything now that's like a project, but like if you wanted to associate things with a project, that's a pretty good one. Mirror is the Unito thing I mentioned. Chronify is useful if you want to sync it with your calendar, so that it literally you sync it with your Google Calendar or I think Outlook calendar, and cards will show up there. Calendar, like I have it there, but I don't really use it.
So are you doing any workflows with Trello that are automated, that are using other apps? So I don't know, you know, like email kicks off something that makes a card in Trello, that, you know, like the whole cascading sort of thing?
Yes, you would probably need something like Zapier to do. You can use Zapier to integrate, you know, email to create a card. You can use Butler is specific to in here. So like you can use Butler for like if a status is changed or if this happens, then do that. So you can have Butler like send an email or notify someone, but Butler won't like trigger a new card from an email like that. You would need Zapier from. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
And I'd love to hear what are like, so Butler is for automations inside Trello, and I'd be curious like other examples. So like like maybe like if you move to something to a board, notify somebody, like just curious other examples of how you use it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hold on. I saw somebody. There were 3 chats, so let me just take a quick look.
Oh, that was just me. I had asked what an epic is.
Oh, an epic. So epic is in like dev speak, it's like a store, like it's like a large piece of work with like subtasks in it. Like that's what they call it. So it's like, you know, like my husband could explain this way better because he's the programmer, but it's like, if you think about it as a project with like subtasks, so that's what the epic is. It's the larger project with the subtasks. So it's a way to like keep them together so you can see, I wish, actually, you know what, I can, yeah, test. So you see automatically, so I have it set up so that this list, it recognizes that things in this list are epics. So now, if I add something here, I can go in here and I can add it to the epic. And now it automatically recognizes. And then if I move this to done, marks it done, and you go in here, and you see it recognizes that it's done. So it's a way of keeping separate things like kind of like organized together, you know, so that it recognizes it's a project and things, you know, like there are various parts of that project. So you can easily track, you know, how many pieces of the project are done, not done, and up here you can then see like, you know, the stats and where things are. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. I'm just gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna archive it. Okay, you asked about notification, right?
Yeah, about the butler and what other examples of what you use it for.
Okay. Okay, so here's a, I kind of set up, I have this set up almost like I have a form on my website where freelancers that are interested in potentially working with me can fill it out. It comes into the inbox. I review it, and depending on a few things, it moves to various things. So on this board, like I have a bunch of rules, like a lot of them here. When custom field price point is set to 1, set custom field status to approved, add the green label to the card, move the card to the top of list approved, and link the cards together. So it's just these kinds of things. And then like I have for like the different statuses, and depending on where they're checked, it will, like I have a category for each. So when I check a custom field, it'll also put them in that appropriate list, so that it's kind of like a little mini database where I have, you know, what their skills are. You know, I created one that's kind of like a, you know, a mini, like this could be like a mini CRM. You know, you can add custom fields and make a template and use this like a CRM. You know, what else? I even have this thing like a snooze board. So for instance, if something isn't due for a long time, I move it to the snooze board, and then it knows, I think, let's see. "10 working days before a card is due, move the card to the top of the list this month on board your MBR to-do list." So there are different things like that. So like if something isn't due like anytime soon, I don't want it on my main board because it bothers me. So I snooze it to move it to that board, and then 10 days before it's due, it'll move back here, so that it's back in my, you know, on my mind, I guess. Any other questions?
So I totally have another question, but I also don't want to hog it. So if anybody else has questions, go for it. All right. Well, I got 2 thumbs up from Darren. So
Okay.
my question is, when I played with Trello in the past, I always get overwhelmed with the blank slate aspect of it. Like it can be anything I want it
That's a
to be.
storage crate.
And
Yes.
what I find is that I want guidance. I want at least to start with like, what the hell do I do with this thing? And so do you have thoughts about where to start or places to look or?
Yeah. I would start with their templates or their boards. Actually, their templates, because literally depending on what kind, like they have so many categories and ideas here. Like I still sometimes just look through here just to see what people are doing. Like Life Watchers 2020. Like, you know, it's so that would be my recommendation. Like go in here, and it's Trello.com templates, and you know, depending on what it is you're looking for, just see what other people are doing and play around with it. It's really easy. Anything in here, you can you know, view the templates, and then if you want, you can create a board from the templates and then just rename it, and it'll get added to, you know, to your team or to your private boards. And then you can like use it. And most of the time when you use a template, there will be like some information or documentation to help you. But obviously you can also, once you copy it, you can make it your own and modify it. But that's where I would recommend you start. It's just like finding the category and just looking and see what people are doing. And I'm also happy, you know, like we can Slack and I can make some suggestions too.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Let me see. Best practices. Best practices. Okay, hold on. What's an epic? I answered. Yeah, there's so much you can do in Trello. And it's funny because sometimes I've gone crazy and like automated the heck out of it to the extent that I had to like write instructions for myself to remember. And then I always end up like scaling back. I'm like, if I can't remember my automation, it's like too complicated. It's just because I can doesn't mean I should. So that I scale back and scale back and scale back. I don't know that there are any best practices, honestly. It's like whatever works for you. It's like this, I literally just like redid it like maybe a week or two ago. Cause like depending on how many clients I have, like at one point, like up until recently, this was like, I had a bunch of like clients down here and then I decided, you know what, that's too complicated. I rather have the clients by labels. And it's just easier because it's not, you know, like otherwise I'm scrolling too much down there and it's pointless. So like I'm constantly retweaking it as, you know, depending on what works or doesn't work at the time.
Yeah, just to jump in, we had a conversation in Techstars about like whether to use Monday.com or Trello or
Yeah.
and it was or Notion. That's what so it's kind of like no matter what, you still have to make it your own. I feel like there's always that problem. So like figuring out what questions you want answered. Like it's like, do you need a bird's eye view of time and who's working on what? Or like when it was just Darren and I, it's like, well, I just need to see what his priorities are and what mine are. So I think figuring that out first maybe helps when you look at the templates, because then it's kind of jogs your.
Yeah. There was one point, like I was working for this client that he was in Trello and I had my own board, but like he only wanted to see certain aspects. So that's where like the master board and Unito comes in. You know, like at this point I only have one thing going on here, but at one point like I had like literally like 5 or 6 different syncs, because literally like you can have like anytime like I put a label like operations or whatever, it would sync to his board. So he saw only those things updated because those are the only things he was interested in. He wasn't interested in everything else. So there's like, you know, that's a different way that you can also do it, because, you know, like the execs don't necessarily want to see everything. They just want to see some things. So you can filter it either by labels or by, you know, custom fields, and then use that as a trigger to like copy it to like the master board.
Cool. Awesome. I have one last question, but we're running up to time. But does anybody else have a question before I ask that?
I've got a question.
Darren, yeah, go ahead.
It's more just around organization of all these boards. So I noticed you have quite a few boards. And when I've, and I think that's great, like you're finding a lot of value out of it. And when I've used Trello in the past, I also end up with just tons of boards. And then I feel a bit overwhelmed, as if maybe there's a better way to organize, or, maybe I'm using boards incorrectly. Have you found that that there's some tips or tricks around organizing boards that that will help you avoid just creating more and more? Is there some sort of hierarchy you can use, or anything that you've become familiar with?
Yeah, so this Your MBR to-do list is basically my master working one. Everything else has, like, this is like where, my EA's assignments go to. All the others are just like various aspects. Back in the day, like when I did this was when I was like overcomplicating things. And then I realized, no, I don't want literally a different board for each of my clients, because then I literally had like, it was this crazy like multi-tier thing where like, like things on here when they were due, like moved to another board, then to my main board. And I'm like, okay, I managed to get this done, but it's not helpful because it's so complicated. So like, yes, you can make things very complicated. If you find yourself toggling back and forth between boards and they don't serve a purpose, then I would combine them. It's like, obviously like, having a CRM or like a database, those are different than a to-do list. So that makes sense. And, like you can have triggers, even like in the, there was a partner one in here. Like you can set due dates on things to remind people to do things. So, like in those, and you'll get notified, here, let me show you. You get notified up here, like all the things, like you get notified. And if you go into your settings, you can choose the notification email frequency. Like I turned it off because I live in here, so I don't need it in my email. But if you don't live in here, you can actually get email reminders as well, either instantly or like, once an hour. So anything you're notified or watching, you will get the notification here. Their mobile app is decent. It doesn't have like the full functionality of the web, but it's, you will get notified. You can make updates. You can't do like automations and stuff there. Like the power-ups aren't fully functional in the mobile app. So I would save that for like the desktop or the Chrome. But otherwise it's pretty useful. I have it on my phone, so it's good. I think I saw another question.
Yeah, follow up to Darren's question. Is it possible to make a board of all your boards? For me, I'm like a big bird's eye view person. So is that like, can you link boards to each other in that way?
Yes. So what you can do, you can actually, so here, you can attach a board. So that could be a way to do it. So like you have a master board and everything else is like an attachment, and you literally like click through and it brings you back there. You can also attach cards. So when you go to attachments, you can search by cards. So you can attach cards.
And that search is from all your boards or just the board you're in? All your boards.
That's from all my boards, yeah.
So all the boards are connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Got it.
Cool. Looks like Gonzalo had a question about Chrome versus Mac app. Do you know, is there?
I'm on a PC, so I don't know what the Mac version or side of things. I assume like Trello's been around for a long time, so like I would think that they're equally capable on PCs and Macs, but I don't know firsthand. I'm sorry. And I'm on a Droid, not an iPhone, so Again, I assume they're okay on the iPhone, but I can't speak from personal experience.
Awesome, cool. Does anybody else have questions? Oh, looks like there's one more. Yeah.
No, there isn't a limit of, I need a CO in my life. We can talk.
Yes,
Is
so
there a limit of
much.
labels? So no, what happens is you can actually duplicate, like you can create new ones, and when you run out of colors, you can actually duplicate it, and on the back end, there's actually different codes and values associated. So even if there's like 2 green and you wanted to use a Zapier or whatever, they would distinguish which of the 2 greens, so they wouldn't confuse the two. So you're limited to how many colors, and this one is invisible, but it's still a label. But you're not limited to, like, you can have 3 blues and 3 reds and whatever. Anything else?
Yeah, and unless anybody does, leave a little space in case anybody wants to jump in.
I can just say that my mind is totally blown away. And
I'm sorry.
so I use Trello just for to-do list, and suddenly there's like a whole new world. It's like I live in Lisbon, and no, there is this thing called Europe, and there is actually more of this, like US and stuff. Like what? So yeah, I'm a little bit blown away, and I'm doing things totally wrong. Thank you for showing me that. And yeah, thank you
No problem.
thank you for your time. It was like super valuable, and I think I will spend a couple of hours during the weekend trying to explore by myself again all these that you just shown. Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
and they
very much, Karina.
actually,
Interesting. There's like some barrels that spawned in the island.
there's actually also like there are community boards that people have made of like resources and tips and tricks where, like, you know, if you you can like watch those, like when you watch a board, you know, like you can like get notified of updates. So like I would look up, like, you know, like Trello resources and tips and tricks, and like there's actually like you know, there is a passionate community of like Trello fans, which I'm one of. So there's so much out there. It's crazy. And you know, if you do have like a paid account, like you have unlimited power-ups, and every once in a while, like I go through and see what's new and been added, because like it's really cool.
I just wanted to say real quick, I have to run. I've got to get another call, but this was fantastic. And Karina, your knowledge of Trello is really impressive. So thank you. I also learned a lot. I feel like I knew a lot, but I did not know a lot until today. So, and I still got a lot to learn. And thanks everybody else for joining us on this. These are going to be a lot of fun, I think. So I'm really looking forward to learning more and more. Please share if you've got some stuff to share with everybody. I'd love to see it. Maybe I'll get in here and share something one day.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Okay, I'll see everybody soon.
Okay.
All right.
you,
Yeah.
bye.
Thank you so much, Karina. This is really great. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And if anyone has follow-up questions, feel free to Slack me and I'm happy to answer.
Okay, cool. And thanks everyone for joining. This is like the first experiment, and I just love seeing all your faces.
Yay.
Yeah,
Hey, Brooke, happy
thanks for
birthday.
organizing.
Oh, thank you, AJ.
Yes. Should we
Thanks
sing
again,
now?
Karina.
Yeah, it's like at least it's sunny outside, so that's nice.
I could show you, but it's like 11 in the night right here, so I have nothing to show. Sorry.
You're good. Well, I hope you all are doing good. I know it's a little bit of a crazy time, so we're here to help. So reach out anytime, and we're doing another workshop next week. And I'm hoping, literally, if anybody wants to start a coffee break chat, or I know we're all in different time zones, it's like /Zoom, and like maybe one person shows up, maybe none, but I think it'd be fun to like start doing these a bit more. So feel free.
I'm thinking tomorrow afternoon, like maybe 4-ish, give or take. I'm Zulu -5 right now, I want to say. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. That sounds great. All right. Well, everyone have such a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, you
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
Bye, guys.